also just discovered a new element. Think you could do that, Wolverine? Think anyone but me could do that ever in a billion years? You think if God existed, he could do it? The answer is no. If God exists, it's fucking me.
To be honest, I can't tell if you're defying gravity or trying to get a good look at your non-existent cock in a weird angle, or if a ghost has just bent you over, because I'm actually stuck here. Sonic Frontiers succeeded in getting fans to stop bitching for a while, and as much as I love the game, I realize there isn't much replayability, and most of that comes from the fact that the game is just designed as weirdly as it is. If Forces allows you to carry momentum and speed through jumps, and you can do a boost jump to get you further, I don't see why Frontiers doesn't let you do that. That alone makes cyberspace so much harder to play, especially with how fucking slow you go in these. And since there's probably only one tight-ass S rank in the game, you'll probably only replay cyberspace on a repeat playthrough of the game, but even that is fucking jarring, and you don't even need to do that because Big Tits is here to save the day. The bosses require you to have your files saved correctly if you want to replay them, but hopefully DLC will change that. And above all else, the open zones can't keep you entertained forever. Even fisting yourself gets boring over time when you're doing the same thing over and over again. I was originally going to make a video talking about multiple mods that I think make all the difference. I'm also offended no one has made a Godzilla over Giganto mod. Legit, I will give the sloppiest head to anyone who makes that. But I recently found one that is the biggest game changer. I found it through one of those Sonic channels that just shows off mods and gameplays and all that shit as well, so most likely you've seen it before, but I want to dedicate and also waste my time explaining why this mod is better than sex. And before anyone asks, I get an astronomical amount of bitches in my dreams. There have been some momentum mods that change the game in a big way, making it so that you can boost jump and gain speed while going downhill and maintain it without needing to constantly boost, but the Hedgehog May Cry mod does that and so much more. This is how Frontiers is supposed to be played. It may look janky and weird looking at it, but if you haven't tried this mod, I promise you it is a good time. I didn't actually read the description of it on the website, but the noticeable changes speak for themselves. Being able to boost jump and use momentum to gain height and actually get some distance is useful, and also just a fucking blast. The base game only really lets you jump normally when on rails, otherwise jumping stops you completely, and I don't see why, because of how well Sonic handles. It's hard to fuck up your jumps if it was made to try and make platforming easier. It just wasn't needed. Another change I appreciate is the Psyloop doesn't always give rings. The fact that Sonic only needs one ring to not die makes you invincible, and if that's what they wanted, it's not very fun in a game with a dedicated combat system. Why bother having enemies to fight when they don't pose a threat? It just comes to a point where it's not about if you'll beat a Guardian, it's about how long it will take. Making it so that the Psyloop isn't so overpowered for rings also makes the power boost so much more rewarding. But playing without it is still fun because of how you're able to reward yourself with speed by understanding how to keep it, but it makes more sense having to pick up the rings you drop instead of creating new ones out of thin air. It gives this thing the game needs. What's that word? Oh, right, balance. Also, the parry is now actually a parry. You can't just hold it. You need to time it carefully to make it work. It's still a bit lenient with how long you can hold it for, and other mods that change the difficulty and make the parry even less lenient, but even with this mod, it's a combat feature now that actually requires some level of skill from the player. I mean, what is the point of the game holding your hand through literally everything? You'd only need that if you're literally a fetus. The combat overhaul, as you can see, is the main attraction though. Moves have been sped up, every move on the skill tree is cheaper, and you can access all the moves, even ones only unlocked through the story on earlier islands. This is important because the combat is shit when you only have like one or two things unlocked for it. So trying to fight enemies on Kronos the first time you play it is boring as shit because there's only pretty much 2, maybe 3 moves you'll have unlocked by that time. So it also makes fighting Giganto not as entertaining as it should be. And the only other workaway around that is just getting the level 1 boss fights mod, which allows you to have the save files set to every boss fight with every move unlocked, but your stats are all level 1, which is still a really nice way to enjoy the game. My other issues with the combat was it was slow and way too automatic. It didn't feel like I was doing damage when I did an attack. It didn't feel like I was fighting enemies. This cuts the flashy camera angles and speeds up everything. Now it feels like a genuine combat system. I never knew how fun it was to quick Psyloop enemies and then use a cyclone spin to basically juggle them around in the air, and then Psyloop them again to smash them to the ground once I'm done with them. You dare to strike me, fool.
Know your fucking place. trash.
Enemies are also stronger, meaning more moves being chained together is needed to beat them quicker. In other words, a combat system was made. When running around in the open world gets boring, I can actually rely on the combat to keep me interested. And even then, running around is less boring because now Sonic just feels more fun to play. This also speeds up the homing attack now, which just makes that so much more satisfying to do. The thing with the homing attack is when you did it on an enemy, it felt powerful, but it was too slow. So now you have the speed, but still feel the sense of power you have with each hit because of the satisfying sound effects and feedback you get from the game. But the way Sonic feels now is just what was needed to make the game more replayable. There are a million more routes to make up in your mind. Look how I'm able to jump from this far away to this spring that leads to the giant pyramid, or how I can skip that whole platform arena in Ares to get to the Chaos Emerald. This thrill was missing from the base game, and I'm so happy someone else was able to make a mod, and I love how far they went with it. Some mods only do what half of this one does. That's why this one is special to me. There are a few overhauls for running, but nothing made the combat any more fun until now. It also affects cyberspace, and now that shit just becomes a lot more fun. Another thing as well, air dashing actually takes you decently far. All in all, I got nothing against Frontiers. This is just one of those moments where the solution to make it 10 times better is looking right at me. Why isn't the game already like this? It's not like it needed to be stripped down and recreated from scratch. These fairly minor changes make a massive difference. That's what kind of annoys me and makes me feel unbelievably privileged to have a gaming PC to play like this. Bosses are also a lot more challenging now. Giganto doesn't just take all the punishment. This lanky twat isn't afraid to fight back, and their health seems doubled. I actually don't know about that. I never really upgraded my strength stats just to make sure that I'm not running through literally everything, because the weaker I am, the stronger enemies are, and the stronger enemies are make the game a lot more interesting. But yeah, before Giganto would barely fight back, now he feels more like an actual fight and less like a punching bag to Supersonic. All in all, this in my opinion is the best mod for Frontiers, but that's all for now. Leave a like, subscribe, hope you enjoyed. It's a new year, so don't be a cunt, and cheers lads! And until the next time, have a good one.